Akali's story is that of a warrior born into a world of harmony, but who chose the path of conflict. Where others sought balance, she chose action. The story begins in the heart of Ionia, an ancient land whose powerful spirits and unique peoples lived in delicate balance, intertwined in a dance of nature and mysticism. But even in the most harmonious corners of the world, discord occasionally arises. At such times, it took not only wisdom but also strength to restore balance. The Kinkou Order, an ancient brotherhood whose devoted disciples travel between the mortal world and the spirit realm, took it upon themselves to protect this fragile harmony, eliminating the roots of conflict when necessary, even with their swords. Among them was Akali, daughter of Mame Joman Tethi, known as the Fist of Shadow. Together with her father, the valiant warrior Tano, Mame raised a daughter in the traditions of the Kinkou, under the watchful eye of the great Master Kusho, the Eye of Twilight. When her parents were away on missions, other members of the order took care of the girl, becoming a true family. Ganon, the Heart of the Tempest, stood out in particular. He spent hours training the young Akali, teaching her how to throw shurikens and proving that agility and speed are sometimes stronger than brute force. Akali was smart and quick to learn. From an early age, it was clear that a path was set. She would become the guardian of balance and, together with Shen, the son of the great Master Kusho, lead a new generation of defenders of Ionia forward. But balance is a delicate and fragile thing. The day came when it was irrevocably broken. A schism occurred at the very heart of the Kinkou Order. During Noxus's invasion of Ionia, Zed, the adopted son and former student of Master Kusho, returned, but he did not come alone. Having left the order to take part in the war, he returned with an army of his followers, intent on seizing power by force. Rumor has it that he killed Master Kusho with his own hands and turned the Kinkou Order into what it is today, the Order of Shadow. Together with his comrades, Zed began hunting down the Kinkou's loyal disciples, and among his victims was Tano, Akali's father. Akali herself managed to escape. Together with her mother Mame, Kanon, and Shen, the new Eye of Twilight and son of the fallen master, she hid in a forgotten temple high in the eastern mountains. There, Shen began to rebuild the order, returning it to the three ancient ways of the Kinkou: pure impartiality, watching the stars; passing judgment, coursing the sun; and removing threats to balance, pruning the tree. Mame, as the Fist of Shadow, took on the last of these roles and began training a new generation of warriors. Among them was Akali. At the age of 9, she already stood out, agile, quick, and perceptive. Her closest friend was a neophyte named Faye, also a student of Mame and a potential successor. But unlike the reserved and patient Faye, Akali was often impatient and hot-headed, often causing trouble for other students. One day during training, a group of neophytes encountered a detachment of the Navori Brotherhood, a nationalist movement formed after the Noxian invasion. These warriors were looking for recruits in their army and clearly had no intention of leaving the children alone. The latter, hid in the forest, decided not to reveal the way to the temple. With the help of traps, cunning, and a little luck, they managed to convince their opponents that the forest was cursed and drove them away. However, their tricks angered an ancient spirit of nature who awoke in a rage. Vines entangled the students, and the spirit went mad. Faye tried to free her companions, but disobeying orders, Akali rushed to her aid, distracting the creature and helping to pull her friends out. But before help arrived, Faye was struck down, knocked to the ground, and seriously wounded. At that moment, Shen, Kanon, and Mame arrived, banishing the spirit and rescuing the students. In the temple, Akali was praised for her determination, but Faye, coming to her senses and realizing she had lost her leg, harbored resentment. She bitterly accused Akali of disobedience, saying that everything had gone wrong. Mame tried to comfort Faye, vowing to find a way to heal her and restore her ability to fight. Hearing this, Akali could not bear it and silently left the room, hiding her tears. At the age of 14, Akali officially became a Kinkou apprentice, determined to one day inherit her mother's title and become the new Fist of Shadow. Unlike other neophytes, she did not possess innate magic, but it was her determination, agility, and skill that made her a worthy successor. Soon, Mame left her fighting career to devote herself to training new generations and solemnly passed the title on to Akali. However, with the end of the Noxian invasion and the temporary truce between the Order of Shadow and the Kinkou, doubt began to grow in Akali's heart. She felt the pain and suffering of the ordinary Ionians, whose lives had not returned to normal, more and more acutely. Also, more and more often, she felt that the world she was supposed to fight for continued to rot in the shadows of indifference. Shen, the new leader of the Kinkou, sought to keep her within the teachings, teaching her meditation and mantras and reminding her of the importance of inner harmony. But for Akali, this was unbearable. She saw his words not as wisdom, but as chains that held her back. With each passing day, the tension between them grew. Akali argued more and more, challenged Shen's authority more and more, and acted on her own, destroying Ionian enemies with cold determination. And then one day, overcome with anger and disappointment, Akali openly challenged the order itself. She accused it of powerlessness and inaction, declaring that its pursuit of spiritual balance had turned into suffering for the common people. She renounced her title of Fist of Shadow and left the temple, not in anger but in determined silence. Shen did not try to stop her. He believed that she had to walk this path alone. Deep down, he hoped that Akali would one day return, not because she had lost her way, but because she had found her own truth. But the decision was now hers alone. Now Akali lives as an independent assassin, free from the restrictions of the Kinkou Order, living as an avenger, roaming the city sewers of Ionia and killing those who harm her people. One day her path led her to the coastal village of Wele, a lost ghost port with a mystical aura hidden from prying eyes. Here in a tavern run by Bole, a Vestaya artist and old friend, Akali ordered a new tattoo. A coiling dragon was to adorn her back. As the needle touched her skin, the object of her mission entered the tavern. An advisor from Pubo, who had sold his people to the Noxian invaders in exchange for gold and safe passage. Escorted by 3 guards, he had no idea who was sitting at the table. In a matter of moments, Akali disappeared in a cloud of smoke, her kunai flashing through the darkness, and soon the advisor lay lifeless, his guards dead. Everything was done quickly, cleanly, and in her own beautiful way, just as she was accustomed to acting. Although she had long since left the Order of Shadow, her connection to Shen remained. He was still her mentor and friend, and the voice of reason that still tried to guide her down the path of balance. During their travels to Nevari, they came across a young Noxian mindlessly chopping down the Guardian Tree, an ancient sacred tree that protects the forest. While Akali planned to punish the invader with brute force, Shen suggested a different approach. Instead of an open attack, she crept up to the boy's cart and with a well-aimed throw of a shuriken broke the wheels. Coming closer, she saw that it was just a child. However, the damage had already been done. The sap of the Guardian Tree had awakened its protector, an ancient stone guardian fueled by the anger of the forest. With a touch, Shen allowed Akali to see the spirits, revealing the truth. The forest demanded retribution. The stone giant was going to kill the boy to restore balance. Ignoring Shen's pleas for restraint, Akali rushed into battle, but even her strength was no match for the Guardian. In a desperate attempt to change the outcome, she realized that balance could be restored not through vengeance but through rebirth. Snatching a seed from a nearby branch, she handed it to the boy and made him plant it into the ground. At that moment, Shen summoned spiritual energy and a young sapling grew from the seed. The stone guardian stopped. Once the danger had passed, Akali sternly warned the boy never to harm the land again. And while Shen raised the sapling into a new guardian tree that gently wrapped itself around the sentinel, Akali watched in silence. Perhaps the path of power does not always mean destruction. Sometimes it is an act of creation. Sometime later, Akali learned of a new tragedy. Zed, a former ally and now her enemy, had killed Master Althon, one of the elders of the Kinkou and Shen's cousin. Without hesitation, she found Shen in the Olgathi forest, who was clearing the thicket of angry spirits. Akali told him about Althon's death and suggested they go back to track down Zed and put an end to his dark path. Shen, though reluctant, agreed. Their journey led them to a tavern in the city of Thonks. There, the innkeeper told them that Zed had already left the city after staging a bloody massacre at the Flower Festival and heading north to Shal. Akali was ready to set off immediately, but Shen, loyal to his duties as the Eye of Twilight, declared that he must lead south to help a village suffering from demons. He begged Akali not to pursue Zed alone, but her mind was made up. Ignoring his warnings, she boarded a boat and sailed for Shual. Upon reaching the inn near the Kinkou Temple of Kushin, Akali encountered hostility. Zed's followers, including his apprentice Cain, disguised as disciples of the Order. Cain smiled and informed her that their master was inside the building. Without hesitation, Akali summoned the Kinkou warriors to protect the temple from the potential threat. Zed himself emerged from the inn, followed by Shen. Shen ordered Akali to retreat. Zed had declared the Code of Tuon, a temporary truce to preserve the balance. But Akali could not allow the murderer to leave. She lunged forward, but Zed playfully dodged her and disappeared into the shadows. His accomplices quickly retreated. Enraged by Akali's recklessness, Shen forbade her from ever fighting Zed again. He declared the truce between the Kinkou Order and the Order of Shadow null and void. Later, Shen revealed that Zed had not come to fight. He had come with a warning. Jhin, the infamous serial killer, had escaped from prison and was back to his old ways. Despite Zed's offer to join forces, Shen refused. He wanted to catch Jhin himself. If Zed interfered, he promised to settle the score with him personally. Akali did not abandon Shen. Together they followed Jin's convoluted trail, which led them to the radical Kashuri faction, nationalists linked to the Navari Brotherhood. The trail led them to the village of Nanti, where Shen suspected that the elder was the next target. Akali wanted to help, but Shen wouldn't even let her look at the bodies. So horrific were Jin's crimes. And then Jhin revealed his trap. Lanterns began to explode throughout Nanti, and hidden bombs took dozens of lives. Seeing the explosion from afar, Akali swore she would kill Jhin. When she found out that the killer was heading for Piltover, she immediately set off. In Piltover, Akali questioned everyone who might know anything. The trail led to the gloomy underground city of Zaun. There she learned that Jhin had been deliberately attacking merchant houses that supplied weapons to Ionia. A rumor led her to a theater in the Mistflare district where Jhin had allegedly encountered agents of the Pharaoh's clan. But it was a trap. In a theater, Akali found herself at the center of a carefully planned act, the fourth victim of Jin's, so to say, work of art. 3 Piltovans were already hanging from Ionian trees, tied to harpoon-firing machines. Akali narrowly dodged the shots and threw a smoke bomb before being knocked unconscious by the blast wave from Jin's rifle. When she woke up, she realized she had been tied to a tree. It was truly a trap. Jhin was waiting for Shen and Zed to arrive. He intended to kill them both, but at the last moment, Zed threw a shuriken, cutting Akali's bonds. She broke free from the trap and, emerging from the smoke, attacked Jhin, knocking him to his feet. Akali picked up his gun and prepared to finish him off for all the deaths, for Nanti, for the fear and blood. Shen begged her to stop. Jhin was needed alive in Ionia. Before Akali could pull the trigger, Zed intervened, pushing her away and grabbing Jhin, demanding to know who had helped him escape. Jhin, as always, responded with riddles, assuring Zed that he already knew the truth. Eventually, Zed threw Jhin at Shen and Akali's feet. "The deal is done," he said, and disappeared into the shadows, leaving the two of them with silence and a monster who was still smiling. Shortly after these events, Noxus began its second invasion of Ionia, sending countless armies into its lands, accompanied by a terrifying juggernaut, a reanimated corpse named Sion. When the female war hero Irelia rose to defend her homeland, she turned to the inhabitants of a coastal village for help. Her call was answered by the warriors of the Kinkou, led by Akali and Kennen, the spiritual mentor of Ionia, Karma, and the silent wandering swordsman Yasuo. During the bloody defense, Akali fought Sion himself, striking him in his blind spot and hiding behind a smokescreen. She then rejoined her allies to launch a decisive attack against the Noxian invaders. We don't know yet how this story will end. The future of Ionia is still unclear, and Akali's path is dangerous and full of trials. She has chosen to go against the rules, fighting in the shadows for what she believes is right. But only time will tell where this path will lead her. If you guys enjoyed this story, do like this video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for visiting my tavern, and see you soon over a mug of the finest ale in all of Runeterra.